Welcome to the Moviegoer Society podcast, brought to you by Nerdtropolis. I'm your host, Tajipour, the mayor of Nerdtropolis, and joining me is my co-host, Drew Munhausen, the professional media and movie mastermind. And we're back, guys. We're back. I feel like it's been a while. I think it's only been a week, to be honest. I don't think we dropped the episode in a week, but it was much needed. A lot going on. We had to recover from the Deadpool trailer. We had to recover from Super Bowl. We had to recover from a lot of things, but we are back. We got a lot to talk about, a lot more happening that we'll get into and kind of tease. But Drew, we're back on episode 30. That's how we return with episode 30. How does that feel?
It feels pretty incredible. I'm glad we're back this weekend. We do have a lot to talk about now. You know, last weekend we didn't record. We didn't have much to talk about movie wise, but not really many people were going to the movies last weekend. I think it was a historically low box office weekend, unfortunately, for the release of Lisa Frankenstein, which I think you did see and appreciated somewhat.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was pretty solid. Introduction to Zelda Williams to the world, you know, Robin Williams' daughter, who has directed some smaller stuff, but this was her feature film debut. And I liked it. It was fun. It's different. I wish it like kind of leaned more into the 80s sides of things, but like it's pretty gory. There's some fun stuff to it. I think they did a good job. I liked it. And hopefully you kind of see something similar. It was a very cool world they built out of that, but very fun. And I think honestly, for Valentine's Day, I would have recommended that over the other films that came out for Valentine's that we'll get into. But in this podcast, we dive into the world of cinema, exploring everything from beloved classics to latest blockbusters. And we're going to get into some lackluster films in a little bit. But we're going to ask this question for this episode 30, Drew. Was Madam Web that bad of a film? And we'll get into all of that, but I wanted to make sure you can connect with us online. You can find myself and Nerdtropolis on every single social media platform at Taj, at Nerdtropolis, and don't forget to visit nerdtropolis.com for your daily dose of movie news, reviews, interviews, and trailers. And Drew, where can they find you where you're not contributing to Nerdtropolis?
You can find me at Drew Munhausen on all the different social media platforms, weekly here at the Moviegoer Society podcast, also weekly at Fresh Out the podcast, and also at Drew Munhausen on Letterboxd, where I'm always commenting on what movies I'm watching, what I've been looking at. Shout out to a recent movie called The Taste of Things. Really, really good. It's in release now in some theaters, not super wide, but it's really good. I highly recommend it. I just wanted to shout it out.
Yeah, if you haven't yet, check out previous episodes of the Moviegoer Society. You got 30. This is now 30, so you got 29 episodes to catch up on. Check out my podcast, which has a brand new name finally, which I'm calling it Real Insights with the mayor of Nerdtropolis, where I interview directors and actors all on a Nerdtropolis podcast network. Recently, I dropped some gems. I spoke to Joseph Morgan. Everyone knows from Vampire Diaries. He stars in season 2 of Halo. I spoke to sitcom icons Jon Cryer and Donald Faison, probably one of my favorite. I mean, I have a lot of favorite interviews, but that was a fun one. They starred NBC's Extended Family, and that was just a hilarious interview full of jokes, and I wish it would have kept going. And tomorrow or the next day, whenever you start watching this one, I'll probably be dropping a brand new interview with an OG Ghostbuster, Ernie Hudson. I got to speak to about the NBC show Quantum Leap, and I hope to talk to him again about the upcoming Ghostbusters film. So a lot of fun stuff, some iconic, actors as well. You got Jon Cryer from 2.5 Men, Donald Faison from Scrubs, and they're teaming up. And then talking to Ernie Hudson was just really amazing. Have you seen Quantum Leap, Drew?
I have not. I was not a Quantum Leap guy.
Oh, I totally was. I loved watching that with my parents. It was a great time. This one is like a legacy revival. So like it takes place in the same world of the original series. Touch up on a few things. Ernie Hudson actually plays a character that shows up in the original show. Not the same actor, obviously, but his character lived on. It's pretty cool to see that connection. But, the question we're posing today was Madam Web a bad movie? But, we talked about Valentine's Day movies, was one being Lisa Frankenstein. Another one was One Love, the Bob Marley film that I got to watch. Drew didn't. I enjoyed it. It could have been much, much better. It's a solid film. But surprisingly, that broke some box office numbers.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like One Love, Bob Marley's story, it's been critically kind of like all over the place, not super positive, but it's obviously working with audiences, and they're finding something to like there because people are going out to see it. It's kind of crazy that there's a new superhero movie at the box office. Granted, it's a Sony Spider-Man spin-off film, so not like the most desired piece of comic book material, but there is a comic book movie new release in theaters, and a Bob Marley biopic kind of decimated it at the box office. So really speaks to where we're at in the realm of superhero films. But yeah, Sean, I did not get a chance to see it yet. I do hope to. What did you think of it? Because you were a little bit more positive on it, right?
I was positive on it. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I didn't feel like there's really any issues with it. It just really takes place the end of his life, and I would have liked to see a full spectrum of his life. You do see a little bit of his childhood, like just a dash, a little bit of him just starting to get into the music stuff, but it really is about maybe the last. I think he passed away in 81, so like I think it takes place between 78 to 81. And so I just didn't think it was that powerful a film it could have been because he does do some amazing things. It's just it was okay. Mediocre, solid film, entertaining. Not the best biopic I've seen, and maybe not the last Bob Marley biopic we've seen. I mean, that we're going to see. So hopefully they try to do it again and maybe do something a little more deeper and that really hits a little harder than what we got with this one.
How was the Kingsley Ben-Adir performance, though?
It's good. I mean, makes Bob Marley look like a better looking man than he was. That's for sure. I tell you that. But I thought he did a good job. He's a great actor. I like him. I had no problems with that. I just didn't fit. The storytelling wasn't that great. A lot of other there's no name actors in this too, and so you don't really connect. I kind of like. I think the Queen Bohemian Rhapsody film was like one of the best biopics I think we've seen. How powerful it was and how gritty that was. And I really have high hopes for the Michael Jackson biopic. I think that's going to be also a great one too, just like the Elvis one was. And so this one doesn't really sit in part with those films, or obviously the Michael Jackson one hasn't come out yet, but the last Bohemian Rhapsody and the Elvis biopic on a higher level than what this is. This is very mediocre when it comes to that.
Yeah, music biopics are kind of difficult because there's been so many of them, and it almost feels like a lot of them follow a certain formula. So I think people sometimes almost get bored of them, and when something does kind of redefine the genre, it's a big deal. But like Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story, is a great comedy that kind of parodies the musical biopic tropes. And so, but that being said, like I'm kind of a fan of the traditional musical biopic anyway, like, or musician biopic, I should say, because I don't know, biopics just kind of hit a sweet spot for me anyway. It's like comfort food, even if they are formulaic.
Yeah, and this one was like that, but it's a good one. I do recommend it. It was solid. Um, but I guess we kind of hint at our next topic, the real topic, which I love that we're phrasing it this way. Was Madam Web that bad of a movie? And to me, to be honest, for me, the answer is really no, because I didn't want to walk out of this film, surprisingly. And when I think a movie is that bad, I'll walk out of it if I needed to, or really not pay attention. There was one film I don't know what I'm gonna do if I'm gonna do a review on it, but that movie Drive Away Dolls, which I spoke to, 20 times I wanted to walk out of it. And that's an Ethan Cohen film. And we'll probably talk about that whenever that film comes out. But Sony seems to be having a problem though, Drew, with expanding this Spider-Verse outside of actual Spider-Man. Very strange that hopefully his box office numbers tells them don't do this anymore. But we have one more. We have Kraven the Hunter coming out, which is pretty much a guy getting bit by a magical lion, apparently. Totally different than what we're used to in the comic books and the cartoons and stuff like that. But man, Sony is ambitious, I tell you. Their slates aren't that strong throughout the year, especially this year, but they have a few cool stuff coming out. Obviously, Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire. But I'm just not sure, Drew. What are they trying to accomplish? Is Madam Web deserving of her own movie? Or are there better choices? What do you think about that, Drew?
Oh, Sean, where to start? First off, let me say this. I did the thing that no person has done before with Madam Web. I saw Madam Web twice, Sean. I've now endured it not once, but 2 times.
Okay, this is breaking news, guys, because me and Drew watched this together. Which was great. I love watching movies with Drew. It's great. So I'm surprised that you watched it again. So that must mean that it can't be that bad of a movie, or does it make it worse the second time?
It absolutely was worse the second time. I'll tell you that. That I can 100% confirm with authority. I had, you and I were lucky enough to see this a couple days early, and then I had some friends that wanted to go see it, and I had promised that I would see it with them, kind of in an ironic way, just because we were ready to like go and laugh at the movie, whatever it was. And despite having already seen it, I had already committed to this, and I was like, "All right, let's go for round two." And it was a really tough watch the second time around. I'll say that much. To answer kind of some of your early questions, I don't know where Sony goes from here. I really don't. It's not performing well at the box office, but luckily it wasn't that high costing of a superhero movie compared to other ones. So that's good for
Oh,
them.
was it
But
really a
it's
superhero movie? Like, that's the weird thing
barely,
about it.
barely.
Um,
And it's getting critically just absolutely raked over the coals and savaged. I mean, and in my opinion, rightfully so. I think when I saw it the first time, I was trying to just cope with like, was this that bad? Was it? And after sitting through it a second time, it's extremely slow. It's long. It's longer than it needs to be. There's just not very much action, and then on top of it, you've got the bad storytelling and really rough tie-ins to the Spider-Man universe of
very
what they're
weird
trying to do
tie-ins,
here.
though. Very weird tie-ins.
Very,
They don't
very
want to
weird.
commit fully to it, and I think that's also the deal they have with Marvel. But then, what's the point of all of these films that really don't have a strong, especially like Morbius, and all that stuff. And then obviously with Venom, it's just like, how can you have Spider-Man films and not really give us something? I mean, make up a different Spider-Man that's obviously not Tom Holland. They could have done that. They should have connected maybe Venom more to the Andrew Garfield world, and then maybe try to connect some of this other stuff. Maybe even Madam Web you could have done to the Tobey Maguire films if you wanted to. I mean, technically that takes place in 2003, where I believe, when's the second film for Spider-Man with Tobey? Was it
It came out in
2002?
2004.
Four. Okay, so you could have done something there, but obviously in a different world. I mean, I'm just saying around the same time, but a different universe. Because you still could have made Toby your Spider-Man or something. I just don't know. And I'm not a fan of Dakota Johnson, to be honest. But I didn't have any issues
Yeah.
with her portrayal of Cassandra Webb. I didn't have any issues with it. I don't know what Cassandra Webb would be like on live action. Like, what is Madam Web live action going to be like? Because honestly, even in the cartoon I grew up with, she's just very just straight laced, kind of forward and kind of monotone. Honestly, when I remember from the Spider-Man cartoons, so didn't have any problems really with her performance. But I think the most comical part, Drew, to be honest, is the performance of the villain, Ezekiel Tahar Rahim. I don't even know where he's from. I don't know what type of accent he has. I'm not sure how well versed he is in English speaking, but it was the weirdest performance I've seen on screen.
It was weird, and then seeing it again, it just reemphasized how bad it is. I don't know what happened there, because watching it a second time, it does feel like a lot of his dialogue is barely even matching up with his mouth. Like they had to do re-record lines in ADR. I don't know if that's because they had so many rewrites or plot changes. I don't know if it was because it was an issue with like the accent that he was doing for the character. I don't know, but it's really, really rough. And he actually was in Napoleon that came out late last year, and he in like a small supporting role, but he's pretty good in that. So I want to give the benefit of the doubt, but it's kind of hard to see where everybody that was involved in this project goes from here. Like, I don't know if this is a career killer for everyone or not. Dakota Johnson, I've seen her in things that I like. Like, I think she has an interesting presence, and when used well, can be a good actress. I don't think she's meant for this kind of role in Madam Web. It comes across as like, hey, I needed a paycheck. Sony wants me to lead this new superhero movie. Maybe it'll lead to spinoffs, and I can have that to support my other endeavors. I don't know, but yeah, this plot, of she's a clairvoyant. She can see into the future. She sees that there is a man, Ezekiel, trying to kill these three girls. So she kind of tries to protect them using her abilities of seeing into the future. And it's just really rough going. And this movie was really marketed with the girls and showing that they get spider powers and showing them in their suits, and they really use
And
that.
I'll
And you,
and I'll say this: we're gonna just dive right into spoilers right now because we can't hold on to this. But what you see in the trailers of a girl suited up, that's all you see. There's nothing extra, and that's not even part of the plot in the movie. Those are just visions, which is the
yeah,
worst
the
thing.
movie never actually shows them get powers or have powers in the plot of the movie. It is brief visions that last literally less than a minute total. And this movie ends up being almost like a prequel to the movie that you want to see of like Madam Web and the Spider Girls or the Spider Women. You just don't really get that here. It's truly a Madam Web movie, but she's kind of figuring it out, and there's only so much you can do when you can see briefly into the future. It's rough going. The Ezekiel character is especially tough. The suit that he wears at times when he is suited up, I kind of liked the design of, and it really did seem more in line with like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man suit design, like with the raised webbing, like looked like it could be from that world. But it's worth noting this movie takes place in 2003. And again, we're in spoiler territory, so I'll just say this. A plot point of the movie involves the baby shower being held for Mary Parker, and she's about to have Peter Parker as a baby. So that then points to, okay, so Peter Parker in the world of this film is born in 2003, which seems to align more with the Tom Holland timeline of Spider-Man. But I'm really trying not to think about this too hard because I don't think anything's going to come of this movie. I even though it leaves off with, okay, now we've set up for this Madam Web and the Spider Women continuation, I don't think this movie is going to do well. I don't think we're going to see any kind of sequel or continuity leading out of this movie.
Is it deserving of a sequel? I will tell you though, the final act was pretty solid, and how it ends is like really what you wanted to see for the film. Like how it ended is like I really wish that's how it started, and maybe backtracked a little bit. It'd be kind of cool to have like a big act in the beginning of everything, and kind of like circle back to like what's really happening. Maybe they could have had more fun with this, especially with like kind of Madam Web being so interesting in her powers. They could have had more fun, more stylized stuff. Maybe take more risks. There's like no risks at all. There's not much action, honestly, in this. But you know, the girls, the trio are pretty solid. I mean, you got Sydney Sweeney, you got Isabel Merced, and you have Celeste O'Connor, who's going to be in the Ghostbusters movie coming back for that. And they're young, talented, so like this is not going to affect them at all. And I don't even know when they made this film, to be honest. Everyone looks much younger than they are when they were doing the press tour and stuff like that. So I think the only one really affected maybe is Dakota, but like she doesn't need to act, you know, with her dad being the man.
Yeah.
So I think she just does it as a hobby and just lives the life she does. She does not really going after anything, and it's just
I
enjoying the lifestyle, maybe.
My fear is Tahar Rahim, who played Ezekiel, is going to be the most affected by this career-wise. Dakota Johnson, I think, will find she. It's been kind of widely circulated now that shortly after the trailer came out for this movie, she fired her agent and found a new agent. And I agree with you about the three girls. Sydney Sweeney has the Euphoria fame going for her, and she's obviously proved she can be a box office draw because Anyone But You, which came out around the holidays, the rom-com that she's in with Glenn Powell, like it's becoming a really big financial success at the box office and has had legs. So I think she's going to be fine. Isabella Merced was just cast in the Last of Us TV show playing the character Dina, who's a prominent character in the Last of Us Part 2 video
Oh, she's
game.
Hawk Girl.
So
She's gonna be Hawk Girl as well in Superman Legacy.
oh, there you go. So yeah, so there's
Yeah,
she's got a lot going for her. So I think that most people are going to be fine. Adam Scott's in this movie and plays Ben Parker, like plays the Uncle Ben. He's
I
like
like
the
this Uncle Ben
paramedic.
too. I
Yeah,
dug it. It was pretty good.
he's actually really good in this. He's doing his thing, but he's good and funny, and he's just kind of wasted in this movie. But at least he brings like some sort of comic relief and presence when he's on screen. It's just not really enough. But yeah, I
There's one
agree.
big
He's
name
good
in
in
here
it.
that gets wasted. One big name, Emma Roberts as Mary Parker. It's like I thought she would have had a bigger role because she's in the trailers. I thought, or maybe the first trailer, and they were talking her up so much, but no one knew who she was playing. And so seeing Emma Roberts pop in this and not really, I don't know, it's like a glorified cameo. She's definitely not gonna be affected by this, but I thought it was interesting that she even signed on to do it because she's so busy.
there's some weird things here too, because obviously we've talked about there are ties to the Spider-Man movies. They have Mary Parker. She is pregnant. She references her husband Richard, so you like definitively this is Mary and Richard Parker. Ben alludes to he's dating somebody new, which could be the future Aunt May. There's like things here, and then even when they make note to never actually say the name Peter Parker or Peter in the movie.
Oh, they even have a game about it. Yeah, they have the baby name game, and they're like, I was just waiting for someone to say Peter or just her to tell her that she saw the vision and it was Peter, right? I thought that moment was coming where she was going to shock her by saying, "Oh, your baby's name is Peter." It's like, how'd you know? And she obviously can see in the future, but that didn't happen. Could have
The
done
sad
that.
part is I've seen the movie twice now, and I can't remember if when at the end of the movie when spoilers she has given birth to Peter. I don't know if she even says the name Peter then. I honestly can't remember, but
No,
I
they don't even do
think
that.
she does. It's bad that I've seen it twice and I don't remember, but I think my second go around, I was just so ready to get out of there that at that point I was pretty restless.
You didn't enjoy seeing the reused Tobey Maguire Spider-Man scenes? I saw this online and they did it and they reused parts of the original movies. Like some of the swinging,
Really?
yeah, like that shot up the building, that red building, that's from Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. So they
Oh, when I could
reused
see it, like when like Ezekiel's running sideways down the side of a building, like
I,
is that taken from
I
Spider-Man? It
think
could have
so,
been
yeah. They've
too.
reused some shots from previous films. So definitely the budget was low on that. Uh yeah,
But they also kind of use the great power, great responsibility line in this, but they change it. Like they say something along the lines of when you take on the responsibility, great power will come, or something like that. Which I'm like, okay, so is this a legal thing here? Like because of the Sony deal with Marvel Studios and using Spider-Man in the MCU, like Sony still has access to all their Spider-Man extended universe characters, but I think that there are some limitations as to what they can say about Peter or Spider-Man or things associated directly with Spider-Man. So I'm like, can you not say the actual line? Did you have to twist it, or did you twist it because it's not a Spider-Man story, it's a Madam Web story? It just raises a lot of questions and head scratching. Yeah,
I want to
it's
be in these
and
studio meetings. That's all I want. I want to be a fly on the wall when they're deciding how they're doing this. And obviously they're not calling Marvel for permission on any of this because they don't need to. So Marvel's just like they're doing their own thing, obviously. Um, and it kind of scares me because Spider-Man is one of my favorites. I'm still waiting to see what they're gonna do with Spider-Man 4 because they're having issues with Sony, what type of storyline they want to do. And I just don't know why Sony even wastes their time making these films. And Craven the Hunter was supposed to come out already, I think, before this.
yeah, it's supposed to come out, I think, in October, but it got delayed due to the strikes or whatever, and it's not coming out until October now of this year. So, yeah, going back full circle to the beginning of this podcast, and you asked what's the future of the Sony Marvel verse, and I just don't know. Like, they'll do Craven the Hunter. That's going to come out because the film is effectively done. So that'll come out. But beyond that, I don't know. I was I don't remember if I said this to you after we saw the screening or not, but back in the day, they had announced a movie called Silver and Black, and it was going to be a Silver Sable and Black Cat movie that was set in the Sony Spider-Man universe. And it was a spinoff. It got then put into like production delay and was delayed indefinitely, then eventually canceled. So that movie's not happening. It was canceled several years ago now at this point. But I'm like, how bad must that script have been, or the development process of that movie have been, for it to get canceled, but yet Madam Web got greenlit? It's kind of
It could have been honestly
insane.
because of Black Cat. I really think it could have been because of the Black Cat part of it. And maybe they're hoping for something bigger for that because that's a major character. I mean, so is Madam Web, which is very odd that they even thought about doing this. And I just don't know what to think about these Spider Verse movies that aren't really Spider Verse. And everyone's waiting for like a Miles Morales movie, live action movie, but apparently we're not getting anything until there's two more animated films. You got the Spider Verse stuff that's taking a long time. You got Spider-Man 4 taking a long time. So maybe this is just Sony's way of, I don't know, are they making money off this? Are they needing to do this for IP reasons? It's
I don't
interesting.
know. Well, it'll be interesting to see how Craven does. Starring Aaron Taylor Johnson, and I don't think the trailer for that looks particularly good either. But at least
I
it's
mean,
an
you have Russell
R-rated
Crowe in it
action
too. That was just
movie.
weird. Russell Crowe is in that.
Super weird. So we'll have to see how that one does. But as of right now, like Morbius and now Madam Web have become the butt of the joke. It's like the
Oh, and
discussion
Venom too.
around
And
Madam
Venom,
Web.
Let There Be Carnage. That was a joke of a film too, to be honest. And then now you have a third one, which is wild. I think that's coming out this year. Venom
The
3
third
is.
one is supposed to come out this year. And I don't think the first Venom movie is particularly good, but it's at least a fun, not good movie, and it made a lot of money. And Venom versus Venom, what is it called? Let There
Let There
Be
Be Carnage.
Carnage. That one was critically kind of annihilated, but I think it made some money. It came out at a weird time because of the pandemic, but that's not a good movie either. But I think that one has some fun moments to it too. And at least you have Tom Hardy in those, like just really going for it. And that's fun to watch. Like watching Dakota Johnson give really bad dialogue as Madam Web is not fun. It's not fun. And the conversation that I had with friends after seeing this again over the weekend, the question is like, which is worse, Morbius or Madam Web? And like, surely that's not the conversation Sony wants to be going around all of these Sony adjacent Sony Spider-Man adjacent movies. And surely Craven's going to be part of that discussion in the future too, and maybe it'll be good. Who knows? Maybe it'll be good, but I can't imagine they're going to keep making these when the conversation is just how bad can they get. It's rough going. I understand them wanting to try to create a Spider-Man universe around the other characters, and there are probably some good
But
stories
which
that can be told
Spider-Man is it
there.
surrounding? That's the question. You can't have a Spider-Verse if there's no main Spider-Man to kind of surround yourself and let him pop in and out. If they did it that way and it just built it upon that and made them like side stories within a Spider-Man universe where there really is Spider-Man, it would have been so much better. Just like with Venom. Like, that's fantastic. You're in San Francisco for the Venom films. So obviously there is a Peter Parker in New York doing something, but which Peter Parker is it? They should really just make it Garfield and just been done with it and merge those two. And then kind of even give Toby a world. But I don't know. It's a lot of contracts. I'm sure a lot of issues with how they can do with Spider-Man. And honestly, I just want my Spider-Man 4. I want another animated series. It's taking forever to get that Marvel Studios Spider-Man freshman year. We got X-Men 97 coming out soon, which looks amazing. And that's the continuation, obviously, from the 90s X-Men cartoon we all grew up with. And so hopefully that's a redeeming factor because I'm kind of tired of the what if stuff. I don't really care for the what if series. And I've been rewatching the X-Men 90s series, which is really awesome. And really, the characters are awesome. So, and vibrant. And so I'm looking forward to that one at least. There's some things in the Marvel world to look forward to, but this was not one of them.
We're all just tired, right, Sean? We're all just tired. And, looking forward to things from the Marvel world. The Deadpool and Wolverine trailer looked really fun. And we've talked a lot about superhero movies and what the future is. I think that movie is going to be a big hit. It's going to do really well. And I think it looks really fun. And it's a lot more MCU-ish than I realized it would be, at least from the trailer. Looks
It
super
is
fun.
Marvel Jesus finally arriving. And on
Yes.
top of that, we get the news of the Fantastic Four. And we have not talked about this. So I guess as we're
Oh,
wrapping
that's
up,
right. Yeah.
what did you think about this Fantastic Four casting, which was teased or rumored for a long time? And I wasn't believing any of it. I said, this is too good to be true. And all the names that were floated for a long time prior to the strike or during the strike came to light, especially the Pedro Pascal one was a wild one, but that's true. But the Vanessa Kirby, like that's been floated forever. So she must have signed on early. And Joseph Quinn from Stranger Things and Bon Moss Bachrock. Where's he from? He's from The Bear recently.
Yes.
And
And he's
so,
very good in The Bear. Very good.
I need to watch that. Oh, so what do you think about this? This is our Fantastic Four, which is going to be coming out next year. So they're filming soon, and it's going to take place and go in theaters a week, I think, after Superman Legacy. So DC versus Marvel, we're going to have next summer, which is pretty awesome.
I'm really looking forward to this. I'm a big Fantastic Four fan from the comic books, and I feel like they are not the most popular of the books these days, but there have been some really great Fantastic Four storylines in recent years, especially when like Jonathan Hickman was doing a run on the books, and I really enjoyed those, and I enjoy these characters. And if it's just unfortunate that they haven't really been depicted well in film ever, and I think it's a hard group to do that with. I think this cast is really good. I'm a Pedro Pascal fan. I think that there are some people that are kind of um I don't know, like from the talk I've had with my friends, there's like a little bit of eye rolling there. They're not sure if he's the right fit for the part. I think he's a great fit for the part. I said the same thing when he got cast in The Last of Us, and then I thought he was great in that. So I'm rooting for Pedro as Reed Richards. Vanessa Kirby, great casting, great up and comer, recent Oscar nominee a few years ago. Like this is a great big franchise for her to land in. Joseph Quinn, the only thing I really know of him from, like most people, is his role in Stranger Things, which was super memorable and charming. So sure, let's give him a shot. Johnny Storm is one of my favorite comic book characters. I love the power set of the Human Torch, and then the Thing's a really really tough role. But if I always call him Cousin Richie from the Bear, but like if he's going to take it on, great. And from what the poster is showing, could be set in the 60s. So maybe there's going to be a time travel aspect to get them to the modern state of the MCU. And
Which Doctor Strange does mention in Multiverse of Madness of that Reed Richards, they disappeared in the 60s for whatever Earth you want to call the MCU Earth. So that'd be interesting. And honestly, I think people just don't think Pedro looks the part, but I've seen many iterations of what Reed Richards looks like. I've seen versions that look just in the comic books. There's been even some art that kind of looks like Pedro Pascal when you gray him up and everything like that. So there's different angles I've seen of what Reed Richards has looked like in comics. He's gone through many different changes, facial wise, and different accent marks on just the type of hair he has and just his features. And I think Pedro can pull it off. I think we'll get a very different Reed Richards, but the question is then who's Doom, right? Who's the Doom that's going to be across Pedro Pascal? Because that's a very important dynamic. Reeds and Doom.
And just like the rumor mill has been going for years now of the Fantastic Four casting, now I feel like I keep seeing the rumors just flying of Doctor Doom casting, like the fan castings and whatnot. I've seen like Henry Cavill thrown out there. You see Adam Driver thrown out there. You see like all these names. I have no idea what's
do they
reality.
have to be this? I mean, what are they going to do if they're in the 60s? Is Doom going to be an old man, or is Doom also trapped with them and they come out and they just don't agree upon things? Like that's really how they're going to bring Doom in there. And to be honest, I was always thinking like Javier Bardem as Doom versus a Pedro Pascal Reeds. I thought that would be a really cool face off between the two guys. They're really great actors, obviously.
Your guess is as good as mine, and there's a lot of people throwing out Doom references in the Deadpool trailer that just came out. I don't know if you've seen that.
There's a Secret Wars comic. There was a Secret Wars comic book later that has Doom's face on it. I mean, that'd be cool. It'd be fun to get teased who Doom is. Don't even announce the casting unless it gets leaked because of filming. But like, if Doom just appears in some type of Deadpool and Wolverine film, just kind of poke his head out somewhere and like, oh, there's our Doom casting right there. That would have been awesome to kind of figure it out. So yeah, I'm super excited for this Deadpool and Wolverine film and Fantastic Four. Like that's exciting. That came out of nowhere on Valentine's Day. That's pretty sweet.
The good news is, even after enduring Madam Web twice, the fact that we got a new Deadpool and Wolverine trailer and this Fantastic Four casting announcement has me excited for the future slate of MCU and superhero films. I think this year's going to be tough. At least we do have Deadpool, but I don't have high hopes for Venom 3 or Kraven the Hunter. We'll see how Joker 2 is, but I'm feeling positive about 2025.
We're also positive about 2024. We're also excited. Our audience is growing, Drew, on our YouTube channel. Seeing a lot of growth on there as dropping as much interviews as I can. I have a lot I've been sitting on it. Really, I keep seeing it every episode. I've been saying that, but also we're back. We're watching Dune this week, guys. So I think we're just gonna maybe drop even, or maybe we could do an early episode, guys, and do Dune for y'all. Dune Part 2, which looks amazing. A lot of great reviews already, and we're gonna be sharing our reviews when we catch that. So stay tuned for that. That's gonna be probably episode 31. But I do hope that many of you watching or listening right now for the first time do stick around. We have a lot of awesome stuff for y'all. And then keep up with all the content on nerdtropolis.com. And Drew, once again, where can they find you?
You can find me at Drew Munhausen on all the different social media platforms, and of course, here weekly on the Moviegoer Society podcast.
Thanks again for joining us for another episode of the Moviegoer Society. Once again, I'm Sean Tajipour, the mayor of Nerdtropolis, and we will see you at the movies.